Hi everyone, this is Kelsey and I'm the Vice Chief of Editing of the World Update. We're the branch of the GNS Inc. that are going to be responsible for presenting you with encouraging and uplifting news and updates that are happening within the local, regional, and global things that are going on. We feel there's enough bad news being broadcast in our lives, so why not hear something good? Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at _the_U_. Let's update and uplift.
This is Max from Sacramento, and you are listening to Decal with the E.I.T.H.R podcast.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with Decal.
And happy MLK Day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Decal hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast here in Northern California. Hope everyone having a awesome 3-day or possible 4-day weekend. Get some recoup time, get some relaxation. Hope you enjoy your weather. Here in Northern California, we got a break for the rain, so that's a plus. So we hope you're taking advantage of that. And anyone who happens to be working still, we appreciate you for doing whatever you got to do on this holiday season, on this holiday this week. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Thank you very much for tuning in to the E.I.T.H.R podcast. For those who are new to the podcast, the elephant in the room is what the E.I.T.H.R stands for. We kind of talk about subjects and topics that's usually difficult for people to have in their inner circles with people who are closed-minded. So we try to give everything from different perspectives, so it's not just one-sided or short-sighted. We also like to do inspirational and motivational, because there's not enough positivity going on in the world. At least that's not what's being broadcasted. As you heard in the beginning, we are starting to get some traction on our The World Update branch for the GNS Inc. That's going to be more of a eventual blog/vlog, our version of news. It's not actual news, but it's our way of bringing some positive, encouraging news to you. So that's in the works. What I want to do right now is start this thing off with a shout out. And one person I want to shout out, had a conversation with a homegirl last night, Celeste out there in Kansas City, Missouri. She has aspirations to do her own food truck. And like a lot of people, when you have these dreams and you have these goals, there's things that tend to get in your way, to discourage, or just obstacles that really, really feel like they're beating you down. And it's easy to have this feeling that you're all by yourself. So I have to reiterate to my peoples that I got her back. And I'm doing whatever I can to make sure that she achieves the goal as best as possible. So one of the things we're going to talk about here is inspired by her, one of the topics. So if you've seen this on social media, the description says it all. So speaking of social media, any of you who have Instagram or Twitter, you're more than welcome to follow us at the E.I.T.H.R. TheEITHR. If you have YouTube, you can follow the parent company, which is the GNS Inc. on YouTube. Subscribe to that. That way you'll be able to see the previous 64 episodes. And this is pretty encouraging because I saw a post somewhere on social media, I believe it was Twitter, where someone made the comment, most podcasters who start off don't make it past 50 episodes. So we're doing pretty good. We're doing all right. We're episode number 65. So we have some interesting listeners out of the country as well as out of state, out of town. Doesn't matter where you are. Appreciate you taking your time to be here. So, motivational and inspirational. We're going to get right to that right here. One thing I've said to people, and I'm going to say this again, this word of advice never gets old, and that's compete but never compare. Everybody has different starting blocks. Everyone has different circumstances. Everyone has different advantages and disadvantages. Your placement in the race normally is never going to be equal to everyone else. So instead of using these things as discouragement, one should attempt to use these things as encouragement. So, listen, you want to have somebody who has relatives, or they live in a certain neighborhood, or they have certain connection. Use it as a challenge to bring the best out of you. Again, compete. Whatever your circumstances is, tell people, like, listen, I'm going to get the most fill in the blank than you will today. And it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's different fields, even if you guys are in different businesses, different lanes, right? That's irrelevant. Somebody could be in sales, another person could be in fitness, and okay, someone's in sales, I'm going to sell X amount of product or get this amount of people signed up for a service. Someone in fitness, okay, well, I'm going to hit 2 personal goals today. It doesn't even have to be equivalent in the same field. It's just along the same line, which is the same goal, which is being better today than you were yesterday, which should inspire you to be better tomorrow than you are today. But again, don't get discouraged. Compete but never compare. A lot of folks compare their situation and compare their circumstances, and they easily get discouraged with that. And by doing that, you're setting yourself behind the 8 ball, and there's nowhere for you to go from there. And then the road seems endless. The road isn't endless. The possibilities are endless. You just have to understand you have to take this road in order to get to those possibilities. And everyone has a different vehicle. I said this before. 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, V8 is irrelevant. Supreme, regular, plus, whatever fuel you use, Chevron, Arco, Shell, it's irrelevant. Whatever fuels your vehicle to get you to your destination, that's what you want to do. And as long as you did the best that you can do today, that's all that matters. And if you both achieve your goal, perfect. Big each other up. Don't knock each other down. And a lot of people do that without even realizing they're doing that. So make sure you compete, keep it competitive, friendly competition. Should not be any hating in your vocabulary. We're going to get right into this podcast after this quick break. This is your boy D-Cal here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. We'll be right back. What up, everybody? It's your boy D-Cal, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Listen, are you trying to promote your brand? Whether it is your podcast, whether it's your jewelry, whether it's a music, whatever the case may possibly be. Listen, business cards are a thing of the past now. Okay? What you want to do is you want to go ahead and get yourself a pop-up. Okay? It's really, really simple. Give your market a more direct, instant connection to your brand. Simply tap and connect. Just like that. Next time you're having a conversation with somebody, instead of them having to enter in your phone number and name, you take your pop-up, you tap their phone, and your information is digitally transferred to their device. Whether it's your Instagram, your Facebook, your storefront, it doesn't matter. Listen, go to the E.I.T.H.R Instagram page, find the highlight, get the promo code, save when you purchase. Let's get it combo. Hey everybody, welcome back from that. Appreciate you guys taking the time to eat the podcast, checking this out. So, I was scrolling through my phone yesterday and I saw an article more so. It was an article for major cell phone company, T-Mobile, right? And this article was basically saying how T-Mobile is closing down a lot of their independent stores, if you will. So when you drive past, like North America, I can't think about any other country, but North America, you'll see a T-Mobile cell phone store next to a Starbucks, next to Panda Express, next to a pizza place. And you go inside these stores and get service from the clerk and be able to look at all the different devices, so on and so forth. Metro PCS, I believe, was purchased by T-Mobile. So you can see a Metro PCS store, which is powered by T-Mobile. And T-Mobile's been around for a minute. They've been around a few years. But with everything that's going on right now, they're starting to shut down some of the standalone locations. Now, this article also said that what they're going to be doing is putting stores within stores, if you will. So you will see something like a T-Mobile kiosk, and that kiosk will be inside of a Costco, for example. Or you'll go to a Sam's Club and you'll see a T-Mobile station. You go inside Best Buy, and within their cellular department, you will probably see a T-Mobile rep. Those things, it's a great way to cut costs on overhead. And you don't necessarily have to pay a bunch of employees, because let's face it, companies right now more so than ever are attempting to do more with less. So instead of paying X amount of dollars in rent and overhead for a standalone location, just rent a section in an already established business that has constant flow of customers inside of it. Okay, makes sense. The backwards problem with that thinking, in my opinion, people are antisocial. And what I mean by that, 20 years ago, when you had these pop-up stores or these stores inside of big box businesses, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, Singular Wireless, so on and so forth, when they were inside of your Radio Shacks or your Best Buy locations, even kiosks inside of malls, you had associates who were a little bit more aggressive, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean aggressive where they had no problem in talking to people and getting attention, doing things that drew attention for potential customers and or repeat customers, and knew how to ask for the sale. In today's world, primarily most of your people are antisocial, and the only conversations they know how to do is behind a screen or on a phone. So now you're asking people to get out of their comfort zone, which is extremely difficult for them to do, to generate a conversation out of the blue with a stranger. And if anyone's worked in customer service now, you understand customer service is not the same as it once was before. So if you've worked in customer service in the 80s, 90s, or 2000s, and you go into an establishment right now in the 20s, there's a difference. There's a different feel, there's a different vibe, there's a different atmosphere. Most associates nowadays, they don't necessarily greet you when you walk in. Usually they're on their phones via social media. Again, back in the day, you didn't have the ability to have your cell phone with you on the sales floor. Because most management knew, most businesses knew your cell phone was a distraction. Now, back then you didn't have the distractions of the social media, you didn't have the distraction of the internet because it was just brand new in the 2000s. Beforehand, it was more phone calls, texting, pager code, right? But nonetheless, the distraction was removed from you. So when you was at your job, all you had to do was the customer and the job. That was it. Now it's a little bit different. So I'm interested to see how customer service is about to change, being that they're one of the few major players in the cell phone world that's going in that direction. Now, I'm confident other wireless carriers are also going to be going in that direction, along with other retailers. You have, I believe, Sephora is now, I believe they're shutting down most of their independent standalone locations, and they have a partnership with Kohl's. So when you walk into a Kohl's department store, you'll see a Sephora inside of there. So there's other chains that are doing something similar to this. But my concern is the customer service aspect, because I come from that world where you were more approachable than what people tend to be generally today. Again, when I go inside an establishment and I deal with people, you would think that I'm the sales rep, the way the conversations are going. And I understand that sometimes the customer will follow your lead. The customer shouldn't have to lead the associate. It should be the other way around. What do you guys think about that? Do you think big stores going into these already established large department stores is going to be a smart thing? Again, it's already making the direction to go in that way. But do you feel that is beneficial? Do you feel that this is something that's going to trend moving forward? Do you feel this is going to be a spark and people are going to go back to the traditional brick and mortar type of way? Do you feel customer service needs to be readdressed in order for these companies to successfully flourish and grow in this new direction? Or do you think to the point right now, because of the way technology is, no one really gives a shit? This is just how the world is now, and we just need to adapt to that. Bring it back to the old, get used to the new. What say you? Now, the next thing I want to talk about, this is kind of fun, is conspiracy theories. Listen, regardless of what you think, or regardless of how you feel, conspiracy theories, they come from somewhere. And I think it's interesting when it comes to conspiracy theories, how a lot of people tend to think they're bullshit. Now, I'm interested to find out what are some of the most interesting conspiracy theories you have heard. What are some of the most interesting theories and stories someone has told you? Or what are some of the most interesting conspiracy theories or stories you believe? Me personally, one of my theories that I have is regarding Area 51. Now, if anyone who knows what Area 51 is, you've seen a lot of sci-fi movies and shows, and that's quote unquote, air quotes, where it is believed that the government hides aliens and does experiments on extraterrestrial life and their crafts and all that fun shit, right? I don't think that's the entire story. Personally, I don't. I don't remember where I heard this from, but it was, oh, no, I apologize. It was a TikTok reel. Yeah, and Lord knows, I never thought I would ever get into TikTok, but that rabbit hole, it definitely grabs me every now and then. There was a gentleman who was speaking about the Neuralink, which we talked about a few episodes ago, and how Elon Musk is in charge of that. And it was more behind him purchasing Twitter than just freedom of speech. That most likely was a nice little hook in for people who didn't want to be silenced or restricted with their words. So the freedom of speech angle was taken and used, and that was what was getting the attention. But Neuralink is a company that's going to be producing chips where you surgically implant a chip inside somebody's brain or your brain stem. And with this chip, you're able to control fill in the blank. So the late Stephen Hawking was in a wheelchair, and his wheelchair had the ability to take what he was thinking and apply it on a screen with a voice. So it was almost similar to text to talk. So that's how he communicated. Neuralink is going to do something similar to that, where on a mass scale, they with these chips to where if you want to play a song, this song will play within your brain. So it's similar. Think of having headphones or earpieces or a headset on your ears internally. Or if you want to send a text message, make a phone call. You just now have to think it, and it will happen. So, almost like a telepathy-esque communication, that's where we're going. Well, the conspiracy theory on that is eventually this is going to be something that is going to be, I don't want to say mandatory, but highly encouraged. So the gentleman also made the point how what they do in this conspiracy theory, in addition to what people would do in Hollywood, is they'll take these theories and put them in films. And the purpose of that is to subliminally get you to not believe it when it happens. I don't want to say desensitizes you, but it makes you feel, it makes you not think about it or react to it. So when you see something, you're kind of like, oh, I saw that in that movie. And that's where it stops. You don't put two and two together and say, okay, well, where are they getting this information from? Where are they getting this idea from? Because they have to get the ideas from somewhere. And in my opinion, a lot of these films, a lot of these movies that we watch, that we love, that we see, they're speaking to us. They're giving us messages. They're trying to tell us something, but they can only tell us in an artistic way. Because if they come out and say it, people are going to think you're crazy. So they got to put it in an entertaining fashion to where you see it, you hear it, but you don't necessarily believe it. But the story is out there, which is interesting because when it comes to anything that has to do with crime or harming people or getting amped up or excited, motherfuckers would jump on that in a heartbeat. But when it comes to self-improvement or betterment or being aware, aka woke, nobody wants to pay attention to that. They sweep that under the rug because ignorance is bliss, right? That's what the saying goes. Ignorance is bliss. But yeah, a lot of them put these things in films, and the messages are typically right there in a lot of these movies that we watch. We just choose to ignore it. I think it's interesting. So again, what's one of the most interesting conspiracy theories you have heard or you believe in? Hit us on social media at the E.I.T.H.R, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Clarissa with Sipology, and we have a huge selection of teas, tea wares, and other products. Come check us out at Rissa Tea Party. That's Rissa Tea Party. RISSATEAPARTEA. See you there.
What's up, y'all? This is E.I.TH.R. We back here to E.I.T.H.R podcast. So, for those who are listening this time, this long, you may have noticed on my podcast that I like to do ads and commercials and stuff like that. Well, I have this belief where everybody is out to help one another. And growing up in the Bay Area, and I've said this to a lot of people, growing up in the Bay Area, a lot of the artists out there helped one another. Even though they all were out to try to eat for themselves, each one of them did their part in making sure that they put one another on. And that's because back in the day, using music, for example, your main two music meccas were New York and Los Angeles. And that's kind of where music stemmed from. And Los Angeles had a struggle getting out because well, it really wasn't New York, for the most part, radios really wasn't playing it. So LA became the West Coast version of the music hip hop scene. And the Bay Area really wasn't known for that, even though it had its own clientele. It had its own style. But a lot of artists there didn't have the same push or pull as they do in LA. Again, the markets are different. So a lot of the artists, they came out with this, scratch my back, I scratch yours. Now that's me saying it. They didn't say that themselves, but that's just me using the analogy. So a lot of artists helped each other. So I do this podcast every now and then, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And if anyone has a business or anyone has something they want to push or promote, that's what the platform is for. So I know a lot of podcasts don't necessarily do that, but I literally try to think outside the box because I've always said in the past, if I eat, then we all going to get full. So, but that's just me. Now I digress. We talked about earlier of people competing but never comparing. As I said, my friend out in Kansas City, she wants to do a food truck. And I asked her last night when we were chit-chatting, I was like, yo, what's holding you back? What's your biggest thing? And she had her reasons and she gave me, and again, they're legitimate reasons and so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. But I think what people need to do is honestly take what discourages you and use it to encourage you. I know I did. My personal thing was I always wanted to be a corporate guy when I was a teenager. I just the traveling, the gravitas, the pulls, the ranking, the control, the power, the way you're perceived by people. Just when corporate people walked into the store or walked into the offices, everything got buttoned up. Everyone acted the way they were supposed to act. It was almost when somebody is driving and they see a cop, they sit up straight, they make sure their seatbelt's on, they put away whatever distractions they got, and they use their turn signals, they stay within their lane. It was very similar to that. And I remember when I worked at Copeland Sports, not the CEO, but he was store operations. He was basically like chief officer of operations. Eric Tomasi, never forget this guy. Cool dude. And he came into the Embryville location. And I remember the manager was saying how we need to do this, that, and the other, because Eric Tomasi's coming in And I remember having this random ass thought to myself, like, well, if we act like he comes in every single day, we wouldn't have to do this the day he does come in. We should be doing this all the time. This is what I said to myself. And ever since that moment, I was like 19 years old. And ever since that moment, I've always tried to do my best to make sure I'm buttoned up. Because in 1996, I was taught, if you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. So ever since that point, I made it to where at any point, anytime someone can come through, I'll be ready for whatever. Now, there's times where you do have your moments where you just don't give a shit and don't want to do anything. It makes perfect sense. But you should always be on the ready because you just never know. So again, with her, you should never give up on what it is that you want to do. But a lot of people give up on what it is they want to do. Most of the time, it's just adulting bullshit. We get ourselves caught up in these commitments across the board. And this is what you have to do as to being an adult. And it's very discouraging. One thing I learned 12 years ago is how important your circle is. Some of us don't have a supporting cast at home. Some of us don't have a cast at all at home. Some of us are solo. Some of us are in a marriage or a relationship. Some of us children. And by the time you get any time to yourself, that's exactly what you want to do. Nothing. And I understand what it is like to have a significant other not on the same page as you. Even though they're not involved, it's almost as if you're carrying their weight as well on your shoulders. Because there's an internal pressure that you feel of, without them truly saying it, their actions are telling you, I don't want to do nothing, I don't want to have nothing to do with whatever you're involved in, or they don't support what you're involved in. That in itself is very discouraging. You can have children who need your attention, especially when they're younger. And kids are a completely different type of fatigue. It's not a physical, but it's more of an emotional, mental, psychological fatigue, because you constantly have to parent them. And they don't know any better, they're kids, right? Or you just have this draining ass partner who doesn't necessarily encourage you, but their vibe discourages you. And these are some of the reasons why a lot of people get discouraged and they give up on what it is that they truly want, because they get caught up in this, like a better term, rat race. Here's a suggestion. Find people who are like-minded. Those with a common past, those with a common future. Depending on who you associate with, that's where you'll go or stay. So you have to understand that. It's cool to hang out with people that you grew up with. But if these people aren't growing, you can't expand. If you at home with a significant other, partner, husband, wife, whomever, children, it does not hurt to have an accountability partner. And listen, accountability partners ain't gotta be somebody that is a drill sergeant, militant-esque type of personality. If that helps you, cool, good, do that. If not, all they supposed to do, all they need to do is make sure you commit to and accomplish and complete the task that you say you're going to do that day. Even if it's 2 of them, doesn't matter. Laundry, clothes, clean the car. Did you do? Okay. Did you do? No. Did you do? Yes? Cool. Your day's set. Congratulations, you met your goal. I watched a video where you can set yourself with something so minor, like when you first wake up in the morning, make your bed. As small as it's minute, it's very minor, but you started off your day making an accomplishment. Most of us get discouraged to even make our fucking beds. And I understand how that works. I completely get that, right? But as little goals like that, if you have a partner that you can talk to every single day at 8 o'clock in the morning to get the day going, 11 o'clock in the morning right before your midday rush. 5 o'clock in the evening on your way from or to someplace. 8 o'clock at night right before you turn in to start your new day. If you can find someone to discuss things with, and I put this tweet out earlier by saying relationships, not necessarily husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, whomever. If you look at a relationship in business, you'll see the profits grow. And it's very accurate. You are the CEO of your life. You are the chairman. You are the chairwoman. Your partner, your spouse, whomever, they're the VP of your life, right? Every partnership should look at it as 51-49, right? That way you both contribute, but then you have to take care of yourself while they take care of what they need to take care of, and you kind of bounce ideas off of one another. People say 50-50, and that's cool, but 51-49 is always going to be more of a realistic thing, because your partner's going to fuck around and forget to do something, and you're going to have to make up for what she or he did. That's where the extra 1% comes into play, and that's just natural. But if you at least have these conversations to where you talk to each other in a playful way, like it's a meeting, like a staff meeting. When you guys have dinner, that's your corporate dinner. You guys discuss plans and your tasks are your what do you call those? Projections. Your money is your profit. The way you carry yourself is your advertising. How you speak is how you promote yourself. You see what I'm saying? The way you carry yourself is how everyone sees it. Again, that's your advertising. Your thought process is your brainstorming. Your home is your storefront. That's your office space. Even if you dedicate a room to this, that's your office space. If you have a cluttered environment, you'll have a cluttered brain. And that's just the God's honest truth. So don't get discouraged. Get motivated, get inspired. Easier said than done. But again, if you have yourself an accountability partner, that person would help you get back on track. And most of the time, a great partnership is partnering up with people who love to do the shit you hate to do. Because if you both love the same thing, shit won't get done the moment somebody doesn't want to take care of it. And I say this from experience, because anyone who knows me on a personal level, you understand where I came from, you understand where I'm headed. And as my A1 once told me, I'm like the biggest, I'm everybody's cheerleader. So if you need somebody to be an accountability partner, holler at your boy. I'm right there with you. Thank you guys for tuning into the E.I.T.H.R podcast. We're going to check you guys out the next time. You guys be good, be safe, enjoy your holiday.
Hey, this is Marissa, straight out of Sacramento, California, and I listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with the lovely decal. Go get 'em, slugger.